Hey everybody, this is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. In this week's episode, we welcome back one of our favorite guests to the podcast, Jimmy Burgess. Now, if you're an avid listener of the podcast, then you know Jimmy is the Chief Growth Officer for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Beach Properties of Florida. He is a contributor to Inman News. He hosts the Real Estate Sales Podcast with Jimmy Burgess. He has a great YouTube channel you should follow. Jimmy's like the real estate version of E.F. Hutton. When Jimmy talks, people listen. And this week, Jimmy is back on the podcast with us to talk about social media content ideas to generate more business for you. We all know how important social media is to our business, and often I think as realtors we struggle to think of content ideas day in and day out that we can post to help generate more business for us and get more eyeballs on what we're doing. So Jimmy is here to give some great ideas on how to maximize your social media, great ideas for content, and we're going to get right into it with Jimmy. We're just going to wind him up and let him go. So here's our conversation this week, and we'll pick it up on the other side. He is still the most downloaded and listened to podcast episode that we've had so far. I'm sure he's
You got to get some better guests, brother. You got to get some better guests. Guys. Come on, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. So first and foremost, our guest today is Jimmy Burgess. So Jimmy, it's always good to have you on. And I was so excited to have you that I spent the past hour cleaning my virtual background for you. You know, I was fluffing my virtual pillow, all that stuff to have you on today. So I'm really excited. How you doing down there in Florida?
Man, we're doing great. I got to tell you, anytime I get to spend time with your organization, I mean, to me, what a blessing it is to be a part of y'all's organization. And reality, I mean, from the leadership, everybody that I know involved in the organization is the best of the best. I've got to be honest, whether it be Rajiv or some of your leadership, I watch what they're doing and model a lot of what we do off of that. Now, listen, I don't copy it word for word. I mean, I always tell people, listen, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We just got to put our own rims on it, just spin those suckers. And so we're taking some of what y'all are doing and really trying to adapt it to our market. But man, I am so excited, Jason, to talk today about some things that we're seeing working right now that I just know if people will stick with us through this and they'll just take one of these ideas, it can literally change their business today because we're seeing that impact in a number of different markets.
And I'll tell you, the reason why I think it's so important that we have you on today, number one, your perspective is always welcomed. And, right back at you with what you're saying, it's such a privilege to be able to work with such great people throughout our network. And Jimmy, definitely, you're at the forefront of that. I always listen to your stuff. I always find you on YouTube. I always listen to your podcast. So if you do not listen to Jimmy's podcast, then first and foremost, look for the Real Estate Podcast, Sales Podcast with Jimmy Burgess. Great content every week. And you drop a couple episodes every week. So you're a busy man. So today we're going to talk about, and the reason why I was excited to have you on, we're going to talk about social media content ideas to generate more business. And nothing is more relevant right now than that, right? And that's why I think it's so important to have you on, because just a personal aside for me, I recently actually hired a social media consultant because I feel like it's that important. And I want to say a shout out to Cassie in our Jenkintown office. She is awesome at social media. I kind of, I've been social media stalking her for a while. And finally, we get an opportunity to work together. So I'm really excited for that. But I want to get into it with you right away because first and foremost, most of our agents know that social media wise, they have to do certain things now, right? We see certain posting. We see a lot of agents going on with realtor pages on Facebook. But now it's become nuanced to the point where you have to think about what content you want to use according to what platform you're on, right? So let's start with just the platforms, Jimmy, that you are seeing out there that people are using to generate business and why that is important and what the different differentiators are to those platforms.
Yeah, this is a great place to start because I think ultimately what we've got to do is we've got to start with who is your end client? Who is your ideal client? So listen, some markets you may be, if you're working with first-time home buyers, that's a different demographic. That's a younger person. That's going to be a different platform. Maybe it's someone that is moving up or an empty nester or it's an investor. Different places and different platforms work better for each individual. So I would say this, the first thing to do is we want to be where our clients are. We call them OKP, our kind of people. I don't want want to necessarily, if my kind of people are on Instagram, me working on TikTok is not going to do as well, or me working on Instagram is not going to. So what we really want to do is we want to find out where is it that the eyes are of the people that you're supposed to be helping and where you add the most value. So once we do that, let me just break these down a little bit. So I'm going to start with really the big one, which is Facebook. Facebook, from a standpoint of, obviously, it's become more of a pay-to-play platform. So you're going to have to really, to get the organic traffic, you're going to have to pay for some of these ads to get in front of your people. It's not that hard. You can hire people to help you with that. We always get asked the question, should I be on my personal account or should I be on my business account? And the answer is yes. It should actually be on both. But the most critical part of that is just be yourself. On any of these platforms, be yourself. What's great about what these platforms do is it gives you almost like a buffer to where the people that you're supposed to work with, listen, I can watch somebody's social media. I mean, literally, I've hired a number of people in the last 6 months. I've not looked at their resume once. I've looked them up on social media to find out who they really are. So understand, as realtors, our resume is on social media. That's where they're going to find out, oh, well, that's a family person. That's somebody I can work with. Oh, that's somebody that's into this. I'm into that. It really acts as a filter to find those folks. So when we're talking about Facebook, make sure you're personalizing this. I would say this, do a mix. Don't let your personal page always be on content with real estate. Let it be some personal items. That connection happens. You know, we talk about us being in the know, like, trust business. In order for people to know and like and trust you, they have to see who you really are. So be yourself, be authentic on all of these platforms. And then let me just shift over to Instagram. One of the things that's happening right now is Instagram is really probably the most popular platform for real estate agents right now. Here's part of the reason why. You've got a lot of the decisions that are being made, especially in the initiation of the process, being made by the folks that are on Instagram. One of the things that's working really well, and you've got a couple of different areas there. Your story basically is the posts that you're doing that are going to be basically documenting your daily routine. Or it's going to be posts that you're putting up that will go away in 24 hours. So that is going to be more of the place that we're going to document kind of our journey. We're going to talk about going to see a new listing. We're going to talk about a house that's coming soon, whatever it is, kind of really stuff that's just going to be constantly filtering there. Then you've got your actual posts, which are going to stay on there. Those are going to be the things that you want to really kind of frame. When somebody comes to your Instagram page, they're going to see those. And the first thing they're going to think is, okay, well, wait a minute. This is who this person is. So be cognizant of that when somebody comes and checks you out, what are those posts? Are those posts that are talking about sales? Are they posts that are talking about testimonials, whatever it is? We're going to get into some of those posts in just a little bit. And what is it exactly that you're putting forward in that way? The next part is this is number one right now, place you can just build an audience is through Reels. So Instagram Reels right now, here's what it is. When a platform like Instagram comes to a place where they're trying to compete with someone else. So an Instagram Reel, to be perfectly frank, is the same thing. It's 60 seconds or less. It's a video content. And it has that, it can be a picture, but it's mostly video content, and it's competing with what's happening on TikTok as well as YouTube Shorts. So it's a way you can compound this as well. We're going to talk about that in just a minute on YouTube Shorts, on Reels, on Instagram, as well as on TikTok, where you can take one piece of content and use it on 3 multiple platforms and really get a bang. Right now, Instagram Reels are it. Instagram's promoting that. So here's what can happen is when you go in and you tag these properly with your local area, you tag it with, some of the bigger hashtags, people are able to find you. Your first 2 hours are critical on Instagram Reels right now. We're seeing typically if it's posted at the right times, which for us, and listen, I would say if you're curious about this, Google's a great thing. Go and say best time to post real estate posts on Instagram Reels. You're going to have people tell you exactly what it is. You can also look at your analytics. But for us, what we're finding, mid-afternoon, weekdays is our best time on Instagram Reels right now. So what we're doing with that is we're posting those things. And even though we may have an agent that has 300 to 400 to 500 connections or followers on there, they're getting almost 10x as far as views on those Instagram Reels. And by doing that, they're finding their people and their people are finding them. It's adding to their audience. So focus on those Instagram Reels. Let me just give one thing, and we're going to get into some ideas in here in a minute, but I want to really bang this home because, listen, you don't get the foundation right. You can post everything you want. Nobody's going to find it. So the critical part with Instagram is the hashtag. You're able to give 30 hashtags on Instagram. My suggestion is always this: take full advantage of it. Hashtags give the ability that if somebody comes on and they're searching for, and I'm just going to use this, homes in Philadelphia or homes for sale in wherever your market is, do the hashtag that way. Hashtag homes for sale in Philadelphia. Hashtag homes in Philadelphia. Whatever it is, do some localized things. With your 30, you want to do something big. So like hashtag BHHS. That's a big one for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. That's a big hashtag. And so you want to have 10 of the bigger ones, hashtag real estate, hashtag, Pennsylvania real estate, whatever it is, you're doing those bigger ones, 10 in the medium. So those are a little bit more of the medium size. So that could be if somebody's like, homes for sale in Pennsylvania, whatever that is, it's a medium size. And then the 10, you want to get hyper local. I would suggest that you want to have at least one that is yours. Okay. So for instance, it could be, Jason Sells, really, I'm just using that, but it has your hashtag that you use so that if somebody sees that and they click on it when they found you, they're going to see all of your content. Also, neighborhood specific. So if it's something where you're talking about a listing in, I'm going to use Watercolor, which is a neighborhood here, Watercolor homes for sale, going to be very specific, very small. But what you've done now is you've gotten 30 different filters where people can find you. And when you're doing that filter, that's going to help you find those folks. Let me mention a couple of other things. I'm going to fly through these because I want to get to the ideas. Like right now, LinkedIn. If you're working with professionals, luxury, LinkedIn has more people on there than they have content available. So you're going to get a ton of organic traffic. The things that work really good there, pictures, quotes, articles written. Basically, you can use it almost like a blog. We're finding native video does really well on there also. So where you're talking about specific houses, again, using the hashtags on LinkedIn is great as well. The last one I want to talk about is TikTok. And the main reason I want to say this right now is I will say this. If my probably spend way too much time sending ridiculously stupid, funny TikToks to my wife every evening. I'm a 51-year-old man, and I'm spending this much time on TikTok. I'm telling you what's happened. It doesn't lie. You want to be where the eyeballs are. My prediction is TikTok's going to be bigger than Instagram within the next year. That's my personal prediction. Now, here's the big thing about this. You think that it is one thing, when in reality, it is something completely different. Yes. And I'm not telling you get on there and act stupid and do dances and stuff. I'm talking about hit them with some stuff that really works. Find some people that are doing it really well. If you'll go into Google, for instance, and do Google and just go in there and do a search for realtors on TikTok, it's going to show you the top producing agents. You can begin to see what they're doing, pattern some of that. And what we're seeing right now is literally some of those you can catch fire in a ball. Like a friend of mine, she posted one that's got over 1.5 million views, and all she's doing is talking about 3 things that everybody should do to make sure that a kitchen is ready to be sold. And she's highlighting, this is what you don't want to do. This, and it's just quick pops. That short span is there. So, Jason, I just went a long ways to get through those. But let me just tell you, I think getting that foundation is critically important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, one of my questions was going to be specifically about TikTok, right? Because I think as realtors, especially us that have been in the business for a while, right? We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and now, some realtors throw up their hands. Now I got to learn TikTok. Well, you know what? You do. And yeah. I think it's important because you take someone like one of your previous guests on your podcast that I listened to, who I follow and admire greatly is Glenda Baker, right? And yeah. Glenda, her TikToks are amazing. Her videos are amazing. She's just so authentic and real. And I was listening to your podcast with her, and she spends, a lot of time filming, right? But she bunches it. And that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, in terms of video content, because we're going to hear a lot of realtors out here say, I don't have the time. I know I say it. I say, I don't have the time to do this, do that. But if we take one day, a month, and we record some videos ahead of time preemptively so we can release them in batches throughout the month, then you do have the time, right? It's about time blocking and making sure that you have that. So can we touch upon that portion and why that's important to do, and why video content specifically is so important, and content ideas? Let's start there.
Yeah. So I would say this right now, short form video content under a minute is killing. Now, here's the beauty of that. The same content that you're using to form something for Instagram Reels, you can take that exact same native video and post it on TikTok. You can take that exact same video that's under a minute and post it on YouTube Shorts. So you're compounding the effect, because listen, not everybody's going to be on exactly the platform that you need to be on. So the consistency of being on all of them is critical going that way. You're absolutely right. What we focus on expands. So if you're focusing on this, I'll say this, Glenda, this is a perfect example. Glenda and I are sitting there at breakfast back in May. And she says, "You're not going to believe this. I just got a text from from my videographer that had posted our video on TikTok, and we've got 222,000 views in the last 2 hours, the first 2 hours." I was like, stop talking right now. We get done with breakfast, they had another 100,000. She did over 10. Now she's a luxury agent in Atlanta, Georgia. She did over $10 million in GCI directly from TikTok by posting one video a day. And she's only done it for 4 months. Come on, y'all. There's a little something here to take advantage of. The biggest thing is figuring out, what does that look like for you? There's certain personalities that do tremendously well on certain types of things. What I want to encourage you is, there are so many eyeballs there. There are so many things and people out there that you will find your people. You don't have to have 1.5 million views on a video. In reality, sometimes you just want the right eyes. So with the hashtagging, if you get a 500 view TikTok, you don't know what that could do for your business by generating one person. So let's get to some of these ideas, Jason, I want to specifically talk to, because and I'm going to start with video, because to me, listen, we're at a place where if you're not comfortable with video, you probably ought to start getting comfortable on video. And I will say this, don't think that this is something that is just for a certain group of people. If you want to see something hilarious, go look 200 videos ago on my YouTube channel at the first videos I did. That dude right there needs some help. I mean, it was embarrassing how bad those things look. And I keep them there because I want people to understand that your first is not going to be your best. But it's the starting of the process and getting out there and doing these things and finding your voice and seeing what people respond to. That's where you're going to start finding this. The beauty of social media video, especially possibly going live or doing these short form videos, is you don't have to overthink this. Just be yourself and you're going to draw your crowd. I always say your vibe attracts your tribe. Make sure you're getting yourself out there in an authentic way. And I promise the people are going to start showing up. And now we've never had the opportunity like we do now to be able to do this in a way that we find them faster. So let me start with some video ideas. Is that okay, Jason? I'm going to slide right on into these.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to fast hit some of these, because what we want to do is we want people really to generate their creativity themselves in a way that gives them the opportunity to say, you know what, I like that, but if I did it this way, that's more me. So we want them to just use this as a platform, maybe some bumpers to start finding some things. One of the best places is, because we want authenticity and we don't want it all to be sales, I love highlighting my favorite restaurant or business type posts. And listen, this is the reason why. A couple reasons here. When you're doing this, basically, I hate those posts where people are like, this is my food. I could care less about your food, but they kill, man. So why not just take a quick video and say, hey, I'm actually over here. I'll give an example. I'm over at Seagrove Village Market. This grouper po' boy owns me. If you're out and about, you got to stop by and check this out. Or I did one time. I said, hey, this actually, what I'm believing, this is what they're going to serve in heaven, because it don't get any better than this. And I just posted that, but I tagged the restaurant. And here's the reason why. Odds are they're going to reshare it to all of their followers. By tagging that restaurant, by tagging that business, all of a sudden what you've done is you've exposed your page, your content to a broader audience that will cross-pollinate and become your followers. So highlighting these businesses, it does two things. First off, it gives a shout out to the local business. We all want to help each other out. And by doing that, odds are they're going to shout you back out by sharing it with their group, and you're going to start adding some people that way. That's the first one. And listen, you just stop me anytime, Jason, but I'm gonna get this train going now. Okay. All right.
Keep it going.
All right. So the second one is thank a service provider. I just believe, when we show who we appreciate, we get more opportunity to find more people to appreciate. Gratitude is the foundation of everything in my life, hopefully. And when I focus on the people that I'm thankful for, I find more people to be thankful for. So think about it this way. If you just had a closing and you had a handyman, for instance, that came in and saved the day, got the repairs done at the last minute, give them a thank you. And again, cross-pollination, you're tagging them individually as well as their business so that you're cross-pollinating with them. Let's say that you had it where you worked with a lender that worked out great. Tag them, say, thank you for helping make us a great, smooth transaction. If you had someone, a moving company, all these people that are part of this process with us, the inspector, whoever it was, the other co-oping agent, whoever it is, make sure you're out there and you're thanking someone that you've worked on a transaction with. It's doing a couple things. Number one is it should be the foundation of everything we do. Number two, it's giving you the ability to recognize other folks in a way that gives them a little bit of credibility. They're going to probably share it with their people. It broadens your audience. So make sure you're doing those things. Favorite restaurant, favorite business, think of service provider. Also, I love to do, and I used to do them on Wednesdays, and I just called it I was just going to basically find someone that was a hero in the community. I wanted to shine a light on a hero in the community. Maybe it's somebody that's running a nonprofit. Maybe it's somebody that does something at your kid's school. Maybe it's a teacher or a coach. And basically just something along these lines. Hey, I just can't thank whoever it is enough for everything they do for our community. If it wasn't enough that they teach all day, they're actually coaching my son's basketball team. And I know that when they're there, he's not just coaching them basketball, he's coaching them about life. Can't say how much I appreciate it when an asset to our community, so-and-so coach so-and-so is. You see what you're doing there? First off, you're giving recognition. And secondly, what you're doing is you're showing that you're a person that recognizes the opportunities that are out there to recognize other people. It's not about you. The quicker we realize that this whole life isn't even about us, that we're just shining the light on other people, that we're recognizing those people that are doing good things, all of a sudden now people want to recognize us. So it's just a great way to get out there, find a hero in the community. I want to shift a little bit with this video also to hosting virtual open houses. Now more than ever, we saw it through the pandemic when you couldn't host an open house, where when you had a virtual open house, all of a sudden, instead of just having the 10 people you would have at the regular open house, now all of a sudden you've got all these people that are tuning in and watching this house. It gets more exposure for your seller. It also gets you the ability. A lot of times what will happen when you're doing this is people will tag their friends in the social media post. Hello, that's someone that's thinking about buying. That's someone to private message and reach out to. So virtual open houses gives you the ability to market your properties to a wider audience. It also gives you the ability to see some people raise their hands that may be out there considering buying. Do you want to jump in, Jason?
Yeah, I think a couple things I want to touch on. That's just such excellent content ideas that you're giving us, right? And I think when it comes to that, Katie Lance said, to me once upon a time that, think of your life as content, right? And I think we as realtors have to get in that mindset to always think of as, our lives as content. And I think that's the way to approach when you get up every day, you have that phone, you have a video camera, right? You have to think in terms of what am I doing right now that is specific to my job that I can maybe record a quick video. I can do a quick post. I fall down in the area where I need to be more consistent in my social media, right? Because consistency is key, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in social media marketing, whether it's in, your broader marketing. You have to be consistent in order to get business. Well, you have to be consistent in terms of your social media to gain attraction, to gain followers, to gain potentially new clients. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And those of you out there that are listening that say, this is just too much, take it one step at a time, right? Jimmy, you reference your videos that, you have to initially take that leap, right? Just do something, just get it out there. We all started at the same point. We all struggled in the beginning of whether it's, recording a video. I mean, listen to my first podcast. I mean, the same thing. I was so nervous. I felt really sorry for my guest. I was fumbling through stuff. You become better as you go along. It's just a fact of life. Practice makes perfect, right? So the more you practice at it, the better that you get. And Jimmy's providing, great content ideas right now. And Jimmy, I wanted to ask you something, just a personal question. So, we see a lot of realtors out there, and I struggle with this because you want to let people know that you're selling property, right? Mm-hmm. You want to let people know that you're listing property. And a lot of realtors are doing it the same exact way. I know, for a long time, I'll just, make an Instagram post. I'll share it to my Facebook business page, provide photos or pictures or a link to where they can see more. But can we do something like that in a more creative way, right? Because I think we need to stand out, right? We need to think about if everybody's doing X, I feel like we have to do a little bit of Y, right? And I am loath now to post, to humble brag about what I'm selling out there, right? I think we have to do it in a more creative way. Do you agree with that? And
completely.
Where do you? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, man. I want to jump in here because this is so good. Because to me, this is the whole idea. The old days of saying we're number one, and it's so tired. Nobody cares. But I tell you what people do care about is the story. So instead of saying, hey, another one sold, they could care less. Instead of that, tell the story of that buyer or that seller. So in other words, a quick video, you can do this if you're not comfortable with video, with writing it out, and it will have an effect. But by doing it where you're sharing the story, where people can hear the emotion involved, that's what I'm talking about. That's the juice that we're looking for right there, for the connection that people have. So I'll give you an example. Instead of saying sold, top highest price ever sold in Watercolor Subdivision, instead of that post, which you're basically just trying to make sure people know you're selling stuff, tell it this way. Say, I had the privilege of meeting this great family from Atlanta, Georgia, that was thinking about moving out of the city and coming down to our area. One of the biggest challenges they had is they needed to find a home that would have access to the beach, close to the schools for their kids, and basically finding that perfect home that met exactly all those criteria. We looked for 4 months trying to find that place. They missed out on 3 different offers. We finally found the place. I'm so excited for the Jackson family to be moving into watercolor, be a part of our community. Please join me in welcoming them if you see them on the streets. Great family, going to be a great asset to our community, and just can't thank them enough for trusting me in this process to help them find the perfect place. Totally different than sold another one. You know what I mean? We're number one. Nobody can care less. Now, all of a sudden, we've done that. All of a sudden now, all of the people that are friends of theirs, because you put them in that post that are in Atlanta, they're like, we want to move to the beach like they did. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, well, gosh, if he helped them that way, then that's great. Tell the story of what that situation was, especially right now. The more difficult the situation was and the more you overcame, the more you need to tell the story. So, for instance, we had a house that just went under contract, and it actually had the appraisal come in $25,000 short. So, a couple of things that can typically happen in this situation. And we just go through the process and then just say, but this was the solution that we found that worked out great for the buyer, gave the seller what they needed as well. And we're at a place where we're able to find a win-win. Listen, what I love about this business is that when struggles come, we have the ability to find a place that everybody gets what they're looking for. Can't thank the Smith family for trusting me with this process and helping them find the perfect place. You see what I'm saying? We're talking in a story format that all of a sudden people are like, man, I'm going to tell you something. They're finding solutions when problems come up, documenting that portion. That kind of goes to that next, we're talking about telling stories, but in reality, documenting your journey, there's a reason why all of these reality shows do so well, because we're enamored with watching other people live life. It takes us out of our current situation. Utilize that. When we're talking about doing these on stories, especially where we're like, hey, just left this great house that we're getting ready to list. Can't wait for you guys to see it. If you'd like a sneak peek, give me a call. We're waiting on photos, something like that. Or, hey, super great family homecoming. Or, if you're worried about RESP or whatever, we got a great house coming in this neighborhood. I don't want to get off in the too deep there, but you know what I'm saying? Because I get hollered at about some of that stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Make sure that we're out there and we're telling the story of what's to come, documenting that journey. If you will tie it in on Instagram when you're doing those stories, it will automatically feed over to your personal Facebook page as well. So you're compounding that where you're hitting Facebook and Instagram as well. People want to know more than you realize, and they will watch. There are a lot of people in life that just want to be spectators. And so consequently, by you giving them a seat in the back seat on your daily time when you're like, hey, I'm super excited, I'm headed out to this potentially great new listing, that's going to be a great place for somebody that may be thinking about looking for an investment property, whatever it is, tell those stories, and that's going to get you some great content as well.
Yeah. And I think, we're shifting that focus from ourselves to somebody else, right? And I feel like one of the best things that you can do in our business, or at least something that I pride my business on, is that, you try and sell without selling, right? You try and help people,
yes,
right? And you're not out there just, smacking people in the face with, hey, what have I accomplished, right? It's more about the other person, their story, how they can relate to you and relate to them. And it's bringing people in to listen to you, and you're differentiating yourself from everybody else that's out there that's saying, hey, like you said, just sold another one. It's the story behind it that's important. And I feel like that's such a great idea. And it's something that I definitely want to employ more in what I do. So I wanted to ask you just about, do you believe in Facebook ad spends or boosting posts? And if you do, what do you use, or what content do you use to boost those posts or those ad spends? How do you spend your money with that?
Yeah. So boosting posts, it's too generic, to be perfectly frank. And I would say this, Don't get off in the weeds trying to figure this out. If you're not an expert in this, there are plenty of people that can do this very inexpensively with you. You mentioned you've got somebody helping you. I'll tell you the type of content. I don't want to dive off into too much on the ads, but I will tell you what we try to focus on. I try to see what is it that organically gets more attention than others. Facebook will let you know. They will typically tell you, hey, this is performing 90% better than the average post you have. That's a cue to you that, hey, listen, this is something people are responding to. Put a little gas on that fire. Now, I like to focus on a couple of different targeted areas, okay? And I'm not going to go into exactly how to do this because Google's great. You can figure that out or you can hire somebody. But what I want to do is I want to think about who is it that's responding to this. A lot of times, if you look who likes these posts that you're posting, you know a little bit about them and you know what their situation is and why they responded to it. So for instance, if I know that I'm working on a house and I'm telling a story about someone that was a move up buyer that's doing better, then I'm going to try to focus on move up buyers in Facebook. If I know that someone's responding because I'm talking about a restaurant that's in this portion of the city, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically target that portion of the city with the targeting on where I want to be on those. So there's a lot of different ways to really figure this out. Ultimately, it's either hire a professional or spend some time really deep diving on. You can go back right now on your Facebook feed and see, okay, well, look, what were the posts that I had that most people responded to? You're going to start seeing some patterns. You're going to start seeing maybe it's virtual open houses. Maybe it's me documenting my journey. Maybe it's my family. Whatever it is for you that you see people respond to, give them what they want, more of that. And then focus on your ad spend on those things that do those. And there's two different ways to look at the ad spend. Number one is it's just building your brand where you're just exposing people to you. And there's a time and place for that. And then there's a specific time where it's a specific property where you're actually diving in to try to get more exposure for your seller and to get that place sold. Understand what the end goal is of each of those posts. And that's going to help you figure out how to spend your ad spend, who you should be targeting, and all of those things as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, I just wanted to see where you fell on that and if you actually use them to your advantage. So I do want to talk about something very specific here because I want to, the jury is still out on this. So I want to preface that by saying that if and when the market does shift, right, we've become so conditioned over the past couple of years and how hot the market has been. And, recently I had 2 properties that went through inspections and I'm like in negotiating inspections. What is that? You know what I mean? I haven't done that in a while. Yeah. And we may be seeing signs where, and I always use this analogy that if the market was on a highway, we were going 110 miles an hour. And now we may see that shifting downwards to say 75 miles an hour. It's still hot. It's still above the speed limit in most states anyway. But, it's not altogether how it was, say, a year ago. But sellers are still conditioned to think that I can get top dollar. I can get a premium for my house that's well beyond the asking price and everything is good to go. Right. How do we then shift our social media content ideas maybe to that shifting market and get ahead of the curve and explain to folks out there that, maybe we're seeing some signs that it is, no, I don't want to say slowing down. That's the wrong word, but it is not what it was.
Yeah, I would say know your market better than anybody else. Understand the numbers. For instance, like we're in the process today, we'll be shooting a video talking about exactly what were the number of closed transactions for August this year versus August last year versus 19. And what we can see is we can see the progression. We can see that blip, so to speak, but we're still seeing consistent growth. We can see that I'm going to just use one of our little markets that we just really did the deep dive on. We're seeing that we went from basically 220 transactions in August of 2020, hottest time, this little small pocket, to now 147 in August this year. Very distinct. Most people don't realize what's happening until it's already happened. So by you being the person that is out ahead of this, don't put interjection into this because none of us know what the market's going to do in the future. But our job is to inform them and to a certain extent entertain them with the information in a way that gives them the ability to make the best decision for them. So I would say this, study your days on market. Know what they are versus where they were last year. Study your average sales price, where it was now versus June. In our market, we're seeing a little pullback even from June. So and be able to communicate that, listen, historically speaking, the fall is whatever it is in your market. For our area, the fall is typically a natural pullback. But it's not just a natural pullback when we're seeing August numbers versus August last year numbers. So being able to communicate that in a way, I would say going out there and telling the story. You know, what we do, and I can send this to you, Jason, what we do is I just really break the market down. I say, hey, listen, and here's a great format for that video. Here's where we were, here's where we are, and here's where we anticipate the opportunities will be for you as a buyer or a seller. Going through and educating them on that. Going through in a video where you're telling them that, hey, the prices have adjusted some. Hey, we're seeing more inventory on the market. Hey, we're still at a place where we're seeing value being brought, but we're moving from a place where maybe when we were getting 10 offers for a place, maybe we're only getting 1 or 2, or maybe it's sitting out there and the market's telling us it's not going to yield the price. By educating them up front about those, what's going on, it gives you the ability to be known as. I remember there were people that went through the pandemic and they would use the showing time. Remember the showing time chart? Did you ever see that thing where it was like most showings are the showings for the week, and you can see the trend, and then you begin to see it move up. Finding those things, whether it be through showing time, whether it be in your own local market and creating some of that stuff, and just being able to speak in a way that gives people the best information. That's the best content right now that's out there. And a lot of times we'll say this, and one of the biggest things, we were just with a group of agents this morning. I told them probably the best thing you've got in your vocabulary right now is the ability to say no. So if a seller is telling you, hey, I just want to test the market, and you know it's not going to sell for that, tell them I'd rather disappoint you now than in the future. Tell them that, hey, listen, somebody may be willing to go out there and price that for you. You need somebody that's going to believe in that price. Based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't believe I can get that price for you. I'd rather disappoint you now than in the future. What I will say this is, don't sign a listing agreement over 6 months. If it doesn't sell, and in the spring you're thinking, I do want to get this thing sold, know that you can come to me and I'm going to shoot you straight with what needs to be done to get that thing sold. By being the precursor in a lot of this, giving them the information, you're going to set yourself apart a little bit.
Yeah, I had just an interesting note. I was on a listing appointment a couple weeks ago, and the seller flat out told me, he said, we chose you because you had the guts to tell us that we were overpricing our house, right? Yes. And they respected that. They didn't want somebody that was just going to be pushed over and bowled over with their price, right? I gave them the reasoning behind it. I ended up getting the listing because of that specific reason. I wanted to just mention, you had mentioned, know your market statistics, right? And in terms of tying that in with video content, another person that I admire, we had on the podcast, Lee Brown. Shout out to Lee Brown. She has Market in a Minute. And if you look at her social media, you go on there, she'll tell you how many actives, how many solds in a particular area. Very short and sweet, easy to do. You could even be reading off a page. I mean, it's literally, you just have to read off the statistics that you write down. Very easy to do, great video content to put out there to your clients. So wanted to give a shout out to Lee. So, last thing, Jimmy, I just want to know, so the skeptical realtor out there who's not on social media that much, and they say, well, I've been doing things a certain way my whole career, I've been successful. Why, and this is a very easy question, but why particularly is social media so valuable nowadays? Because we talk about, from times to post, and it gets pretty complicated. Why is this crucial to know right now for a realtor, and why should they be doing it?
Yeah, I just think historically speaking, if you're comfortable with your business is either growing or it's dying. So what got you where you are is probably not what's going to get you to that next level. So if you're trying to go to that next level and you're not utilizing social media right now, I would argue that there are very few places that you could focus right now that are not going to get you the bang for the buck. Not just now, but building up a comfort zone that people will have, not just to do business with you now, but into the future. So it almost acts like a funnel where people are just kind of working their way down to when they get ready to make the decision, you're top of mind. So listen, I will say this, everybody needs to evaluate their own business. And if you're looking for a place to grow, then absolutely social media, getting involved in that, to me, it makes the most sense right now if you're not already there. If you're already there and you're generating some business there, now's the time to really lean in, because you've seen and you've proven that you've got a little bit of success and you know what helped do that. And now is the time that you can take it to the next level by doing this. A lot of it is time management. It's the whole thing in our whole business. So like you talked about, time blocking to shoot a certain day. having a content calendar. For us, it's like we want Monday motivation. That could be a quote, that could be a story, whatever that is. We want Tuesday tips. We want to talk about frequently asked questions that people typically have. On Wednesdays, we want to shine a light on a hero in the neighborhood. On Thursdays, we're trying to focus on something or a business out there that is doing well, or an individual. So we call them Thankful Thursdays. And then on Friday, we like to do Friday favorites. We want to have something that's a property-specific favorite. Hey, listen, this is the newest place on the market this week. It's our favorite place on the market right now. We're doing those types of things. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I like to make it more personal. So we're talking about what are we doing lifestyle-wise. So that's just document, hey, my wife and I came to the whatever festival this past weekend. Or, hey, this past weekend, I was at the Florida State football game in our area with my family. It's more personalized, so it gives that a little bit more personalized. When you know that, hey, listen, next week, I need to schedule out on Monday something that's motivational. All of a sudden now, as you're going through the week, you're noticing things and you're taking notes. And when it comes Sunday afternoon and you're putting that next week's together, you've already got them already done. Tuesday tips. This past week, I had 4 people ask me about an inspection. Today, I'm going to talk about what you can expect during an inspection, that kind of thing. Whatever it is, start thinking about your patterns that you're doing, and it'll be a lot better. One thing I'd love to do, Jason, because I just want to pound this at the end as far as just rapid fire some ideas, if that's okay with you. Because listen, I want people to take action, because I'll promise you, if you listen to this, there's got to be at least 1 or 2 of these that you can really dive in on and do these things. So let me talk about this. Just as listed campaigns helps get your information out there for your sellers, also gives you the ability to market yourself where people are seeing that you're out there actively listing properties and marketing properties. Going out with a first day on the market video. Listen, this is a behind the scenes type video where you're like, hey, today we're launching this video. Just wanted to give you an idea of what we do when we're launching a video marketing wise to make sure that we maximize the price for sellers. Go through and talk about it. We put it in the MLS. We put the sign up. We get the social media going. We run our ads. We host an open house. We send the open house. Document that portion of what you do to launch it. And then say, this is why over the years we've been able to generate 98% list to sale price versus the average market doing 96%. You're soft selling them, but they love that behind the scenes. Then when you sit down in the listing appointment, they've already kind of got an idea of what you're going to do. Hey, are you going to do what you did on that house on 123 Main Street? Absolutely. That's our process. And now you've almost given them a precursor to what they can expect. Also, sharing your buyer story about how they found the house, sharing your seller story about moving, whatever that is. People think this is a great post. People think real estate is this, but it's actually this. Most people that are not in real estate, they think, oh, well, we just get up, we go into the office, we have a cup of coffee, talk to a few people, go play golf in the afternoon. What they don't see is us walking into a house before it's to be shown, and we're washing dishes to make sure that the house is not a mess when those people see it. What they don't see is us sweeping up the floor or whatever we're doing. Document those things. It's a soft way to let people know how you do the business more than they expect. Do those things. Also, another one. This is what I love about this business. Tell a story about why you're passionate about this business. Passion draws people. Make sure you're sharing your passion for the business. What is it that you're doing that you get excited about? Man, I love showing properties today. Today, we get to see these houses in this area, and I get to help this family. Man, today, I get to actually go out and help these sellers figure out what they're going to do to maximize their price and sell this thing as fast as possible. Just document that process of what you're doing and what you have passion for. A great one also is apps that I love. What is it you use in your business that people can use in general? Man, I'll tell you what, the app, and I don't remember what the app name is, but it's this measuring tool where I can literally on my app just shoot the wall and then actually drop it down. It'll tell me how far that is down to literally with, almost exact accuracy. Those are things other people can use as well. Go out there and do this also. When you see a great kitchen or a great backyard, this is a great post. Check this out. These are some places that I love to get to see. Would this backyard work for you? Just basically where you're generating some things that people can get engaged with. Another great one is this or that. So if you've got 2 listings that have pools, say, hey, which pool would you choose? This one or that one? And you can do it with a poll. It gets engagement. Also, it gives you the ability to link to the photos and details of those properties out there as well. Generate some more questions as well. The last but not least, before and after post. So, there's a reason why all of these places on, where they're doing all of these real estate shows where they show a house when they buy it, and then they show the remodel and they show what it looks like after. People love that stuff. So if you've got a house that has the worst landscaping you've ever seen, and you're going to have a landscaper come in there and fix it up, do a scanned video before, do a scanned video after. And this is what we do to help our clients make sure that they can maximize their price. Do it with a kitchen. Do it with a bathroom, whatever it is, before and after post, kill out there. People love that stuff. So these are just some of the things that we're seeing right now that are very active, that are really generating some things. Please don't get overwhelmed by all of this. One is better than none. Start with what you got today. Just make a commitment to yourself. I want to make one post a day. One post a day, and you'll have an impact.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jamie, I mean, just listening to you, for, I don't know, we've been on for, I guess, about 40 minutes. Just listening to you, I could go back and listen to this podcast 15 times and get ideas, from you time and time again on content ideas. You give people a roadmap on this podcast that they can follow, for the next year, and so I can't thank you enough for doing this. And I do have to tell you, I actually do have to run because I kid you not, I am actually driving to do a video as we speak after this that is going to be on social media, and it's going to be a part of a new series that I am doing. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, video content is where it's at. And I have somebody helping me out, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm doing it. That's the big thing. Just get out there and do it. So Jimmy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I'm so excited that we had you on today. And thank you so much for the valuable information that you're giving all our agents out there.
All right. Thanks, Jason, for everything.
That was the conversation with Jimmy Burgess this week. And man, I'll tell you what, he is just rapid fire idea after idea after idea. So I really hope that you go back and listen to this again, because I know I'm going to do the same thing and incorporate what Jimmy tells me into my business. And a couple takeaways that I have from the conversation with Jimmy this week. Number one, social media is becoming more and more nuanced, right? So the first thing that we need to do is think about who is our target audience? Who are we trying to reach? And so that may determine which platforms on social media you should use. So for instance, if you're working with a lot of first-time home buyers, they tend to be younger in age, and maybe they skew more towards, say, TikTok rather than a Facebook. Or if your relocation clients are coming in and you typically work with reload clients from out of state, you may be more towards LinkedIn and the business pages on LinkedIn. People are looking there. So you need to identify your target market first, and then that can correspond with the platforms that you're using. And that leads me into point number 2. It's not always about trying to flood every single platform with social media content. That can be very overwhelming for any agent, and that could be another full-time job. And, quite frankly, a lot of us just do not have the time most days to put into every single platform that is out there. So think about who your target market is, and then correspond with maybe 1 or 2 platforms that work for you, that work well, get to know them, utilize them, and also make sure that you're posting video, because video is incredibly important to your business right now. And in terms of doing video, maybe you want to pick a day during the month just specifically for social media. Record a lot of videos on one day, so then you can disperse that content later as you go through the month, and you'll always have content to post to social media. And piggybacking off of that point, the last thing that I want to talk about is something that the majority of realtors out there struggle with, and that is time management. I know for me, I am very poorly organized, and that is one of my weaknesses that I am well aware of, and I'm constantly trying to get better at. So for instance, when it comes to social media, I'll always say, well, I'm busy doing this day, or busy doing that this day. I need to actually time block to make the time to post content to social media, because it is critically important. And the more we put off posting good content to social media on a consistent basis is more time that we are wasting not potentially picking up new clients and potentially filling our pipeline for the year ahead. Well, that's it for this week. I appreciate you listening. We'll be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest. And if you want to hear something in particular that we have not covered yet in terms of a topic, don't be afraid to reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And as always, stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.